Well, Whitey Bulger, he was the boss of the Winter Hill Gang, which was an Irish mob in Somerville, Massachusetts, which is close to Boston. What did you know about Whitey Bulger when you were on the street?
So he was boss of like Somerville was like where Howie Winter started it and was where the gang was. But they had like, and it's not just Irish. It's could be Italian in that gang. It wasn't like the Italian mafia where you got inducted into it. It was just you were part of that group, that crew, that gang, the Somerville gang. Massachusetts had gangs like that back. They had Irish gang wars where 50, 60 people were getting killed in that. And that was just to do, because it's heavily populated with crazy Irish organized crime criminals. Just like the mass prison system is loaded with Italians and Irish organized crime criminals. We have, the whites, they have just as much numbers as, the blacks and the Spanish, in mass, as far as criminal, organized crime type criminals. So Whitey had a reputation. He became, he was a vicious killer. And I don't care what anybody says. I was in prison with the most vicious Irish guys that they were, coming out of South Boston, coming out of Charlestown. Charlestown was the bank robbery, armored car capital of the country, right? They've done movies on him and everything. My friend, actually, Brian Goldman, did a movie on his own life. He was a vicious hood. Excuse me. He was a vicious hood coming out of South Boston. He turned his life around. He's in L.A. doing movies now. He was supposed to be involved in one of the armored car robberies where they killed 2 of the guards. He didn't go on it, and he's out with his family. And he's a big-time director out here now in Los Angeles. Whitey, so coming from these guys while you're in prison, and these guys are multi-murderers, vicious hoodlums, and they all feared, not that they were like afraid of Whitey and this and that, they all just had fear for that guy. That's how dangerous of a man Whitey Bulger was. He had his psychopath right next to him, Stephen Flemmi, and they murdered everybody. They didn't care if they had to kill you in the streets, and he went with himself. He went with guns himself. I was in Boston a lot where I never met him, but when I was doing a lot of business with the Irish in South Boston and the Charlestown area. He would be in bars and restaurants that I would go to. Say, that's Whitey over there. Some of my associates would go over there and do business with him, talk with him, but I never went over there. He knew about me. He knew that he actually asked about me, that I was with I was kind of like, I answered to myself back then. I was big in the marijuana business. And he asked about me, like, who was he with, like, with that. And they said he's by himself. He's just with the weed. So I don't have that many, but I know the people the respect and fear that he had. He was I don't care what they say about him. Yes, he did kill a woman. Yes, he was a sicko, a dangerous guy. They put the thing on him that he was in the informant. But I believe that the most of that is he corrupted the FBI.
Well, yeah. Although he always denied it, the FBI stated that starting in 1975, he became an informant. And what he would do was give him information about his rivals, the Patriarca family.
I disagree with that. You said 95 or 75?
75.
75, yeah. I disagree with that analogy because he didn't have to give up information on the Italians. What could he give up on them, number one? Okay? They never got indicted for any murders. He wasn't participant in any of that. As far as their everyday rackets, what is he going to tell them? Yeah, they're bookmakers. Everybody knows the FBI, the Italian mafia. They're in sports loan sharking, sports gambling numbers, extortions, with certain businesses, the vending business, big in the vending. So what could he tell them that the FBI didn't know? That's number one, right? And, where they're meeting, the Italians had their own informants at the time. He never told them where the most infamous mob induction ceremony ever to take place in Medford, Mass, when the Patriarchas inducted 4 new members to the family. He didn't tell them about that. So and that was in 1989. So if he was such a big informant informing on the Italians, and I'm not sticking up for this guy, I'm saying he was what he was. But I think, and I'll get into this, the Italians had their own informants. Sonny Mercurio, They had other guys that were informing on the, and Stephen Fleming was an actual informant before Whitey was, an informant. When the guy Connolly came to Whitey, this guy was an idol in South Boston. Whitey was his idol. He comes to him, and two ways. I can protect you, right? Because I'm an FBI agent. I can protect you and I can help you out against your enemies. Now, who do you think got more? Whitey gets told where there's listening devices in his car. The guy comes, hey, you got a listening device in your car. And he wasn't the only FBI. There was multiple FBI agents and multiple state organized crime troopers telling him this. So who's playing who here? You're telling me where I got a bug and they're listening to me. Oh, thank you. We don't talk here no more. You saved me there, right? Then you tell me that there's this guy, Brian Hollerhan. He's an FBI. He's telling us information all about your crew and murders and this and that. Thank you. Me and this guy, we go shoot him and kill him. So I think they told him about 3 or 4 that I know about informants. The guy, Roger Wheeler, with the highlight guy. They told him about him. They told him this other highlight guy that he was sending Johnny Materano, who was a notorious hitman for the Patriarchas. I think he pled guilty. He was like a Sammy the Bull, but this guy was killing them himself. He was a hitman. He was going to Florida and shooting business guys in the head on golf courses, and you can look all that up. You'll see it. So he's getting information on who the informants are. So who do you think is winning here? FBI telling you how to protect your organization because this guy's an informant. They got listening devices in your headquarters. There's listening devices in your car. Who do you think is winning with the information there? He's playing them. He's getting the information. And the only thing I can say is with the people that say that he's informant in, what I think happened. So now they have to have reason why they're protecting him. And the reason has to be he's an FBI informant. That's the only way they can protect him because he's Whitey Bulger. So he's got to get a number and he's got to get established as an informant. Now what happens is the Italian gangster is given the information, but they're giving credit to Whitey for it because they have to keep him in existence. They go for a yearly update. Why do you got this guy? He's a gangster as an informant. Well, because he's giving us information on the Italian mafia. No, he's not. The Italian mafia is giving it to them on their own, and they're giving him credit for it. So they're keeping him existed from the 70s all the way up until the 90s. When they finally starting to get hip about this guy, new guys are coming in to try and say, wait a second, you FBI agents are dirty. And they all were dirty. There was other agents. The guy got 40 years in prison. The other guy cooperated against him. I think he got time, Morris. There was other guys ahead of him that died before they could get prosecuted, right? So who do you think is like corrupting who? And so the only thing I would say is they saved him, yes, and people got indicted in his area for drugs, and people got indicted for, there was a horse race fixing thing, but they were going to get indicted no matter what, and they just kept him out of the indictment. They said, hey, he's an informant, and they saved him. So that's my take on all of that with him. But he was a dangerous killer. Nobody could take that away. He'll kill you with a knife. He'll kill you with he knows how to do that grappling and rip your eyes out. And he was a dangerous man.
Well, yeah, because in 1994, his handler, John Connolly, the FBI guy, tipped him off that a RICO case was coming.
They got tipped off, yep.
He got tipped off, so he became a fugitive.
Yep.
And then I think in 97, the media got involved and basically started unearthing all this information that made the FBI look really bad.
One of his guys flipped, Kevin Weeks.
Yeah.
So when he got indicted, he flipped and showed him where the bodies were.
Right. By 1999, Whitey Bulger was on the top 10 most wanted fugitive list.
Yes.
He was right behind Osama bin Laden.
Right. And they couldn't find Osama, but CNN did a interview with him in 97. But go ahead.
Right. So basically, Whitey Bulger was on the run for 16 years.
Yeah. And when they caught him, they found $800,000 cash on him 16 years later.
Yeah.
And guns and everything else with that.
Right. In 2011, they found him in Santa Monica, California, not too far from here, along with his girlfriend, Catherine Gregg. Mm-hmm. He was 81 years old by this time.